Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be drawing myself into 4 different universes. The first one is My Hero Academia. With this, the universe is all about quirks and special abilities, and I decided that mine would be about rocks. This is because I've always loved the idea of rock bending and controlling rocks with your mind. The first design, I went with a full body and rocks all over the arms and the chest and the head. This kind of made the character look odd and even evil when I put the hair on. And I think this is because in the My Hero Academia universe, lots of the evil characters have long hair. On the second character, or the second design, I decided to have much less rocks on the body, only having them on one arm. And I also decided to have this hair spiky at the front and then long at the back, and this just unified the design as the hair on the front was much more like the rest of the spiky aesthetic. For the face, I used the polygon line tool to get even lines all the way through, and I found this very much useful to get the style of My Hero Academia, because there's not much line weight variation in the drawings of My Hero Academia universe. The colouring for this character was probably the one that I had the most fun with, because doing highlights and the darks in such a simple way, just blocking out where the dark's going to be, blocking out where the lights are going to be, and then just colouring those was just very fun to imagine where the light's going to hit, and it also looks really effective when you zoom out. This was especially fun on the skin because obviously skin isn't jagged like the hair or the rocks, so I had to think much harder about what bits would be in shadow. I took the skin colour off of the My Hero Academia character you see up on the top corner of the screen, just so that the character looked like it came from that sort of style and colour palette. For the rocks, I made sure to use again a dark, a medium colour and a highlight. I think that the medium colour was a little too chocolate brown, so it might look like I have spiky chocolate on my arm, but it's meant to be rocks. I then went round the character and just covered up any of the sections I'd missed, just making sure there was no blank parts in the character. Then I go on to the boots, the sort of finishing part of this character, and just did the same process again. So that's My Hero Academia character, and I hope you enjoy the next one. This one was Monster Hunter. They're games where you fight incredibly huge and fantasy monsters. One thing that I find when drawing poses is that I find it much easier to draw heavily muscled things. It just helps me with anatomy and the positioning, even if I then slim down the character later. This design, because there was no sort of action pose and the character wasn't doing anything, was much more about the sort of equipment and the clothing, and I really enjoy how this one turned out. It's also closest to my style, but I did, especially in the face, try and capture this style of the Monster Hunter franchise. The hands were kind of odd. One looks like it's spiky, but that was just a way of more simply drawing the hand, trying to break it down into easier shapes to draw. With the skin colour, I went through a couple of different attempts at doing a colour because I was trying to get a natural colour, but that's not too pink, but also not too grey. But I did like how this turned out, this skin colour, because it was, I think, just the right mix of sort of brown and pink. Using one of the special brushes, I managed to actually create a pattern like leather, and I found this really helpful because there were lots of sections of leather on this character. And as you can see, I go back into the face to try and make it more like me and more like the characters from Monster Hunter. For the bone parts, like this skull on his forearm and the teeth at his neck, I made sure to try and use the same color so that they look unified. I used the same brush that I used for the leather for the furry parts. I just used a less uniform stroke on the fur to get lots of variation in the, and I also used lots of layers of sort of a grey, a white, and a dark grey. Then I go in and finish sort of the leather areas and the upper body, like the glove. Lots of this character was about mixing colours and blending and layers like that, and they just made the clothes look sort of woven, like there's fabric, like wool or something in them. Coming to the end of this, I just finished off the big sort of bone blade with a spine along the back and a huge blade. I hope you enjoyed that one, and on to the next one. This one was going to be me in the Attack on Titan universe. I've recently been watching this and I've absolutely loved it. So I thought that was a very good one to put myself in. I imagine this is almost being like a defense titan, pushing a huge shield and protecting others. And the anatomy for this one was quite interesting. Originally, in this pose you can see here, I had his chest pulled all the way back, and that was because he was running in this first one, but in this sort of, as I changed the pose, he's pushing something, so that kind of doesn't work when he's pushing something. So I had to, even though I'd done the line art for that for his chest, I had to turn it around and improve it, and you'll see in a second. It started with trying to position the head better, and then I realised that his anatomy just was completely off. So then I just go in, and in my brain I sort of rotate the body and then draw how I think it would look. I also use sort of the select tool and the resize and distort tool to try and resize things, like the arm on the back. I try and make that more proportioned to this huge character. One thing to do when you're making something look big is to make its head look small, but you don't want to make it look too small, otherwise it looks cartoony and not what the style that I was going for. This character would have quite big exposed muscles because it's pushing this huge shield, and lots of the bigger, stronger titans have exposed muscles. I included elements from Romans and Spartans, like the helmet sort of design with the cheek covers, and also the shield is obviously similar to a Tortuga shield. I did struggle at the start to get the sort of style of Titans, but I eventually just decided that it would most likely come together when I put in the colouring, and also these lines on all of the armour plating made it look much more like the anime sort of style of Titans. Doing this sort of hardened material, it was very much about layering dark and light together and blending it out, and then layering it dark and light again and again to try and build up the darks and the highlights as best as possible. The hair was also quite similar to how I did the My Hero Academia one, where it was also very like there's a dark, then there's the middle tones, and there are some highlights in there as well. With the muscles, it was also lots of sort of stripes and then blend those out, so that made it look like muscle fibers. And I really enjoyed how the color made this piece look much closer to how the Titans do in Attack on Titan. And I really enjoy how this one turned out, especially with the background. I thought that fit, and I tried to make it kind of close to the backgrounds in Attack on Titan. And on to the last design. The final design was me going into the Naruto universe. I don't myself watch Naruto, so I asked one of my friends who's a big fan of the Naruto universe to tell me who he thinks I would be most like in that universe. And he gave me a man called Hashirama. And doing research into this guy, I found that he was quite peaceful and quite very forgiving. And he also gave rise to a clan called the Senju clan, who are again based on skill and being very calm and peaceful. They also have special abilities, like they have this ability where they can see everything with their, it's called Byakugan. I apologise if I am butchering these sayings, but again, I don't watch it, so I'm not sure how I should say it. The face on this was quite difficult, again, because in this style it's very flatlined. And also I had to check how long and round I should have made the face, because there are some characters who have very long heads and some who have quite round heads, and I felt that it was just trying to strike a balance between not over exaggerating anything, but still making it look in the style of Naruto. Going over the layers in line art was very interesting because I had to work some things out, like where the plating would go, how it would look from the angle we're looking at the character from, how the clothes should actually look on this character. And for this I referenced very heavily Hashirama himself, including the colours, the plating, and pretty much just the clothes were almost completely off of him. The trees, when I get to the trees, I found them very fun, especially the line art, just making the curves and things, which incredibly cool. And onto the colouring of the actual character himself. For this character, it was very similar to the My Hero Academia colouring, which I also really enjoyed. This one, there were more highlights on, for example, the armour and the clothes. There were actually highlights instead of just a dark tone. That's just a thing that I found when I was looking at Naruto and My Hero Academia art. Naruto tend to have on armour and things much more highlights. The shadowing again was really fun because I could just quickly mask out where I wanted shadows to be and visualise shadows very easily. Going into the clothes, going into the trousers specifically, I used the shadows to emphasise the curves and the folds in the clothing and in the material. And again, I found this really fun just because it gave so much life to the character themselves. Going into detail with the face, I had to look again quite heavily at the Naruto characters to see how their noses looked. Like there's an entire shadow along the length of the nose going into the eye and under the lip. I found that those were quite common in the Naruto universe. I then go around most of the character and I cover up some of the white areas that I've left when I'm masking out areas. And then I go into a tree. The tree was really fun because I could do a dark and blend that in with the middle, and then a light and blend that in with the middle, and that just gave it a lot of depth and texture. Hello, I'm Drawlords, and I hope you enjoyed my version of myself in 4 different universes. If you did, please make sure to tell me why in the comments down below, and as always, if you do have any tips based on character design or drawing in general, please make sure to put them in the comments as well, because I always look at them and they're always greatly appreciated. As well, could you please subscribe if you haven't already, because I appreciate it a lot and it really does help. And as always, I'll catch you in the next video. Have a great day.